Welcome, class of 2026, to the PSAT SAT Day webinar. Today, we're going to go over college and career information and introduce you to a new powerful tool, Naviance. So let's get started. First, at both of the comprehensive high schools, Mountain View and Los Altos, they have 2 full-time staff members. So the college advisors at Los Altos, Miss Angela Price, at Mountain View, Miss Leslie Felipe, and the college and career counselor, I'm Miss Duran, I'm at Los Altos, and in the photo is Miss Heather Lowe, and she is at Mountain View. So again, 4 full-time staff members to help you kind of navigate both college and career. And we are available to you starting day 1. So we are already open for you to come meet with us and get some information. We want to give you a warm welcome to high school. Our goal is that every student graduates from MVLA with a high school diploma. We also want you to leave high school with a plan, and a plan that you're excited about. And we want all of your options to be open and available to you. We don't want you missing out on something because you didn't have information or because you didn't know soon enough in advance that that was an option. So we want you to have everything available to you. And in previous surveys, we found that almost 90% of 9th graders respond that they want to attend a 4-year college after graduation. And we're going to ask you to fill out a survey later in this presentation to see what the class of 2026 wants to do. Not 90% of students go to 4-year college after graduation, but again, we want you to have all of those options open. And then if you change your mind later, that's perfectly fine. And then lastly, today we're going to go over broad topics that are important for you to know. So if you want to take notes, please do. But again, all of this information will be recorded and shared. So let's kick it off with the A3g requirements. These are the requirements that students need to meet in order to go directly from high school into a CSU or a UC college. So a CSU is the California State University, and the UC is the University of California. And these 2 systems are the California public universities. Okay, I'm seeing some Q&A saying that your friends aren't able to get into the room. You can either share your link with them that you used to get in here, or I'm going to be sending out the recording for them. But thank you for bringing that to my attention. The A3g requirements, again, are to go directly from high school into a 4-year college or university, specifically the UCs and the CSUs. But the good news is, because our state requirements are a high benchmark, if you meet or exceed these, you'll be eligible to go to private or out-of-state public universities, and that's useful. So as you can see, there are these different little graduation caps. The ones that are in a dark color are the minimum required. The gray is recommended. And the other good news is at Mountain View Los Altos High School District, our graduation requirements exceed some of these categories. And in other situations, they match perfectly. So in order to graduate from Los Altos or Mountain View, you need to take 4 years of English. And that's what you need to go directly to college, 4-year college. Our graduation requirements are higher for history. So just by getting your high school diploma, you're going to be exceeding the college requirement in that category. Now, you don't need to remember this, but what I do want you to remember is there's a difference between being minimally eligible and being competitive. And so let's say you fulfill the requirement for math. That doesn't mean you should stop taking math. We want you to continue taking math all 4 years of high school. Same thing with a world language. You might have completed the 2nd level of a world language, but we encourage you to keep going with that world language. So if you have questions, that's definitely something that you want to talk about with your counselor, and you can talk about with us. And that's about, how do I continue to pursue areas of interest, but also make sure that my goals for life after high school, I'm on track for that as well. Oh, one more thing about the A3g requirements. The lowest grade that you can earn for colleges to consider it passing is a C-. Anything below that, they don't consider passing, and you'll need to make a plan to recover the grade or retake the class. And the other important part about this is, although sometimes there's confusion around students saying, did 9th grade grades matter? And colleges do see your 9th grade grades. And so this first semester, when you finish in December, will go onto your official transcript, and that will be your first set of semester grades, and those are looked at by colleges. So don't think that 9th grade doesn't matter, and you definitely have time now to get tutoring or help or whatever you need to make sure that your first semester grades are reflective of your abilities. So I do see a question, what is a college prep elective? That could be any course taken above the minimum, but it could also be something like psychology or different courses that you can take that are college prep elective. Economics senior year is considered a college prep elective. Okay, so I'm going to move on to this graphic here, which is available on our websites. And in each column, it shows different requirements. The first column is the MVLA high school graduation requirements. The middle column are the University of California requirements. And the far right column are the California State University requirements. And so you can see that there's some slight differentiation between the three. And again, you don't need to memorize this, but you can look at it later just to start making your 4-year plan. Okay. Moving on to resources. So I've already mentioned where you could find those documents, which are on the College and Career Center websites. From the main high school homepage, you will be able to navigate to the Los Altos College and Career Center website. And from the Mountain View homepage, you can also navigate to the College and Career Center website from there. In addition to our websites, which have a lot of information, we also have a YouTube channel that you can subscribe to, or you can look at to see a library of videos that we recorded both during the pandemic and since we've been back to school. Those include videos about how to create a college list or how to start thinking about what you might want to study in college, what you might want to major in, or what's the deal with college admissions testing. There's also recordings from college representatives, like how do you approach the UC application? How do you write an essay for the private schools? So definitely worth taking a look at the YouTube channel. And for example, this video will be posted there after we're done. So something to keep in mind. ACT at Los Altos or tutorial time at Mountain View is also a time when the College and Career Center staff are hosting events, workshops, or provide drop-in support. And so you can look at Teach More to see if anything's published, but also when you have free time, you can use that period to go and visit with us in the College and Career Center. Today, we're going to be talking about Naviance, which I've referenced as like that powerful college and career exploration tool. You are using single sign-on, and every MVLA student automatically has an account created for them. This is a place for you to do a lot of research and start building up a list of colleges that eventually maybe you're going to apply to your senior year. And we'll get into more of that later. If your parents want an account, they need to email the College and Career Center staff and we can activate it for them. They don't automatically have an account created. And then we also have Instagram accounts. So if you want to follow the Los Altos College and Career Center Instagram, that's our username handle there. And then same for Mountain View High School. So go ahead and take a note of those. If you have an Instagram, you can go ahead and follow us. I also encourage you to follow your grade level class because they post really useful, timely information. Okay, so here's a screen grab from the Los Altos College and Career Center website. You can see that in the upper right-hand corner, there's a home tab, and then there are several sub-pages nestled beneath it. So I would encourage you to take, 10 minutes maybe at the completion of this webinar and look at your school's College and Career Center website and explore it a bit and see what information is on there. And here's a screen grab from the Mountain View High School College and Career Center website. So again, you can see the layout's a little bit different, but on the left-hand side, there are sub-pages and information that I'm sure will find interesting and useful. So please consider taking about 10 minutes at the completion of this webinar to explore your high school's College and Career Center website. Okay, I'm going to move on to Naviance. So I sometimes, when we're doing this in person, ask everyone to say it out loud just to practice it, because it is sort of a unique word and it doesn't necessarily roll off the tongue. So if you're at home and you feel like playing along, just say Naviance out loud. And that way, if somebody walks up to you and says, hey, what is your school use for college and career exploration? You'd be like, Naviance. Okay, moving on. How do you find out how to log into this? from your high school's homepage, there's that little banner at the bottom. Naviance is not on the first screen, so you need to press the right arrow, and then you'll be able to find the Naviance login there. So this is one way that you can access Naviance. And I'm going to show you what it looks like for Los Altos students. So again, you go to the Los Altos High School website, click the right arrow button on that tab, and then you're going to click on Naviance. So that's one way that you can get there. Okay, then there's also access through ClassLink. And ClassLink is the tool that students are using to access their Aries account, their Gmail, get on Canvas, and use Naviance. It's all in one place. So if you don't know how to use ClassLink, there's a link here that one of the Los Altos High School students created in order to walk students through how to set that up. You won't be able to click on the link right this second to get it. But again, when I send this recording out to everybody, I'll also send out all the links that are here, and you can watch how to set up your ClassLink. And that's definitely going to be something useful for you to use moving forward. Okay, sorry, 2 seconds. Yeah, sorry, everybody. If anyone is not getting this live, we're going to send out the recording and we're going to be sharing it with everybody. So it's not and it's all good. Okay, so for the Naviance login, when you click on that link, it's going to take you possibly to this page where it'll show, you'll either type in Mountain View High School zip code or Los Altos High School zip code for your school. So why don't you take a second, open up a new tab in your browser and go to your high school's website. Go ahead and click on the Naviance link. Okay. And then you're going to hopefully get to this page. So I'm going to give you a minute to navigate there. Okay, take a minute and go ahead and navigate to Naviance. I'm answering a couple questions in the Q&A. All right, so hopefully everyone has been able to find the link and then type in your school code. When you get to this page, it's super important that you click the single sign-on button, that you do not type in your ID number or your password. You're just clicking continue with single sign-on. And you're a student. So if you are at the user type, you're a student. And Naviance should work on mobile. It might be like a little harder to do some activities on there. So I'm going to go through it one more time just to make sure everyone's with us. You go to your high school's homepage. You can find the Naviance quick link at that banner, and you'll have to click right for it. You can also access it through ClassLink if you have access to your ClassLink. You're going to type in your zip code, find your high school. You are a student, and then you're going to log in using the single sign-on button, that teal single sign-on button. There shouldn't be any code, no code. So if you're a student, you do not have a code. You are using single sign-on. If you're a parent, you'll need to email the College and Career Center staff to get you a code. And if it didn't ask your zip code, that's perfectly fine. If it just took you right to your high school's account, that's perfect. So glad to hear it. Good. All right. It seems like the Q&A has kind of settled with people getting in. So I'm assuming everyone has access to their Naviance account and you are seeing this page. Okay. This is my demo account. So just a quick overview. At the top navigation bar, you can see that there's a red rectangle. Those quick tabs take you to the homepage. They take you to self-discovery, careers, colleges, and planner. And then you'll see the red arrow on this screen, which in the upper right-hand corner, there's About Me. Please click on About Me, and we're going to have you complete your first activity. So this is part of how we're taking attendance for today. This is part 1 of part 2. So when you click in the upper right-hand corner, About Me, you'll see a new window pop out. And if you go to the bottom right of that corner, you'll see surveys from your school. Okay, so if you, yay, you got in. Okay, good. When you get into Naviance, you're going to click in the upper right-hand corner, and you're going to click on surveys from your school. And then you'll see Getting to Know You, Class of 2026. Okay, so that is where you're going to get started. So go ahead and click on Getting to Know You, Class of 2026 in the surveys. And I'm going to set my alarm for 5 minutes. So go ahead and spend 5 minutes on this. If you finish early, you can kind of navigate around Naviance for a minute, or you can open up a web page and you could look at the College and Career Center websites. But I'm going to set 5 minutes to get going. If you need more than 5 minutes, you can finish this when you have time after the webinar. So I'm going to press start now. Okay, so I'm seeing a question. If one parent attended in the United States and one parent attended out of the country, you could put out of the country, and then we can follow up. That's a good feedback. So we should have an other box where you could add to that. But in that survey, there's also additional information that you might want to know about you. And that information could be, one of my parents studied in the United States, and one of my parents went to college outside of the United States. Okay. So we have another 2 minutes. So if you finished your survey already, go ahead and navigate around if you'd like. If you're still working on your survey, good work, keep going. And if you have other kind of circumstances that weren't fully captured in the questionnaire, you can add that into the other information you'd like us to know about you. And yes, there will be another survey for attendance at the end of the webinar, correct? So part 1 is completing this survey, and then part 2 is completing a Google form at the end. I'm going to get to some of the other questions at the end. If you don't know if your parent got a degree or not, that's perfectly fine. This is a good time to ask them. In 9th grade, this is going to be a question that definitely comes up later in your career. So maybe today you could ask what the level of education is, and then have that conversation with them. If you are looking at the screen, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner, there's About Me. If you click on About Me, then there's a red box around surveys, and then there's Getting to Know You Class of 2026. So if you were late to arrive, take a look at the image on the screen and go ahead and follow those steps. About Me, surveys, Getting to Know You Class of 2026. Okay, so if your survey is saying still in progress, it could be because you didn't answer all of the questions, but we'll be able to see that you put in some information. So that'll work for you working on this. And again, not everyone is live in this session. So attendance is going to be looked at later in the day, giving people time to actually complete these steps, even if they weren't able to make this session. Okay. So good work. You completed your first activity in Naviance. You completed a survey. Heads up, when you get to become a senior, we have another survey in here for your graduation survey. So you will be taking multiple surveys in Naviance throughout your time in high school. All right, so new activity, new section. Under About Me, same place you were before. In the very, very top, there's a resume option. And the resume is useful for a few reasons. In Naviance, your school counselor has access and the College and Career Center staff have access. And one of the things that Naviance is used for is scholarships and summer opportunities. So let's say, I don't know, University of California, Santa Barbara sends us a notification and says, hey, we're offering these really cool summer STEM programs to 10th and 11th graders. So maybe rising 9th graders or rising 10th graders. And we want them to have, some volunteer experience and an interest in STEM. And we email out that option to everybody. And let's say the school has to only nominate 10 people. If you have your resume ready, then it's going to make your life a lot simpler and easier because you've already started keeping track of your activities or your interests. And so that's where this tool can be useful. Same with scholarships. You're just starting high school, but I imagine many of you have already gotten involved in some way. And creating a document that shows your involvement starting now will save you time later down the line. We know for a fact colleges are going to want to see what you've been up to and how you've spent your time over the 3 years of high school when you are applying. So there's two options. One is you can use the resume feature that's already embedded into Naviance. And there's a little circle with a plus button. If you click on that, that's how you can add activities. Another option, which I really like, is you can create a Google Doc. You can rename that Google Doc with your name and call it activities list. And then you can change the sharing settings to say anyone with link can view. And then you can paste that link into the Naviance resume section with a little note that says Google Resume Doc link, as the example shows on here. Why I like the Google Doc option is because it's something that you can just add to quickly whenever you think of something or you join a new club or you've completed a meaningful volunteer experience. It's just really straightforward in there. And if you've already dropped the link into your Naviance account, it's like a set it and forget it situation. And then people that need to see it can. And then you can make a copy and edit it for different uses. Like let's say you're applying for a part-time job and you want to remove some stuff, but keep others. It's just a little bit more user-friendly to edit than I think the built-in Naviance resume feature, but it's completely up to you. Now we also have resume templates, so you don't have to start from scratch, but you can also use a blank page if that's your preference. So again, in the follow-up email that I'm going to send out to everybody, I'm going to include all of the links, but I just want you to make a note, a mental note, hey, I should create a Google Doc, if that's your preference, put my name on there, title it activities list, and then I'm going to drop it into the Naviance resume section so that people that need to see it can see it. Okay. Moving on. At the top navigation bar, there's also a tab called Self-Discovery. So just pointing out that this is an option for you to explore. You can take these various surveys, and if you take it and you feel like, oh, I didn't answer them the way I wanted, or I've changed over time, we can reset these for you. But just to show you that they're here and available to you to take. So let's say you completed the AchieveWorks personality. This is what your results would look like. It would show you on a scale of introversion, sensing, thinking, judging, or extroversion, intuition, feeling, perceiving, and then it gives you a description of what that means. So that can be fun for some people to get to know themselves a little bit better. And then one step further, based on those results, it also gives you some recommended careers. Now, this system isn't the same as talking to a person and really thinking through how your personality type might overlap with certain careers. So don't read too much into this, but it could be like useful to get started. Once you take this survey, you can definitely, we encourage you to come into the College and Career Center and say, hey, I took this survey. I would love to discuss my results with you. These are ways that it makes sense. And these are ways that I don't really understand why it would suggest that. And we can have a conversation. The nice thing about coming in with these questions is then we can also make recommendations on ways for you to get involved at school or in the community to pursue some areas of interest or pursue possible career pathways. But it's a lot more useful to have that in conversation. Okay, and then there's also a link to show even a broader career exploration tool within Naviance. Great. Okay, so that's sort of a very quick career overview of how that can link in Naviance. So you would go to the self-discovery section. You could take any of these quizzes or like little assessments, look at your results, and then come into the College and Career Center and have a more broad conversation about what that means or how you might use that information for real world experience. Okay, college search. It is no pressure at this point to make a college list, but it seems to be on ninth grade's minds based on surveys, and we want you to start thinking about it. So in a non-stressful way. In Naviance, you can start creating a list of colleges that you're thinking about. Now, there could be colleges you're thinking about because you have a family member who went there, or an older sibling, or a cousin, or maybe you're a big sports fan and you recognize that school because of their sports team, or maybe you're a real big fan of an author or a musician and you know that they went to a particular school. So there's many reasons why colleges are initially on somebody's radar. What you can do in Naviance is you can type in a particular school's name, and then this kind of screen will show up for you. So let's say I've used Santa Barbara already in this presentation, but let's say you have visited UC Santa Barbara. You've driven through and you're like, oh, what a beautiful campus. Or maybe you've heard somebody talk about it and you want to know more. So if you type in Santa Barbara, you'll find UC Santa Barbara, and then this page will show up. So you can see with the green rectangle, you can click on overview of the school. You can click on studies, which will show you all of the different academic majors that school offers. You can click on student life, and that'll give you a little bit about what clubs or activities are there, including sports. You can click on admissions, and that tab is really neat because it shows high school specific information for that university. So if you're at Mountain View and you click on admissions, you're going to see how many students in the past have applied from Mountain View High School to UC Santa Barbara, and about how many of those students got into that school. And it will show you what sort of like GPAs look like getting into that school. That's called the scattergram. Now, the one downfall for scattergrams are on one of the access points, it's using test scores. And the UC system stopped using test scores as part of their admission criteria. So now they will not look at SAT or ACT test scores as part of admissions. So they are something called test free. So if you only want to go to a UC campus, you do not have to take an SAT or an ACT test in high school. So they have permanently stopped using test scores. But you can see GPAs that have gotten into those schools over time. And then you can also look at cost. In the other rectangle that's just above it, UC Santa Barbara has a virtual tour that you can take. You can click on communication, And you can also learn more. So those take you to external links. If through your research you say, hey, you know what, UC Santa Barbara does look pretty cool, that's a school that I might be interested in, you click that little heart button, and that adds the college to your colleges I'm thinking about list. This is not like a required, I'm going to apply to this school. You don't actually apply to colleges using Naviance. It's just a way for you to research and start building a list. Then after your junior year, maybe you still really like UC Santa Barbara, that's when you're going to move it from colleges I'm thinking about to colleges I'm applying to. So any senior right now that's applying to colleges, they are generating a colleges I'm applying to list, but that's kind of getting ahead of things. So for now, it's just exploration. So I'm going to give you a minute, and I want you to type in any college that you've heard of or any college that you might be interested in. And I just want you to type it in and see if you can get to one of these pages. And then if you know for sure you like the school, go ahead and click the heart button. So it would be great if every ninth grader had at least one college on their list. So I'm going to let you work on that while I keep talking in the background. Right now, you're typing in any college name, and if you end up liking it, you can press the heart button, and then you've successfully added one college to your college I'm thinking about list. Community colleges are on here. So if you are thinking Foothill or De Anza, you can absolutely type those in. Those are available and on here. You could type in an international school. So international schools are on here. Also some technical and vocational schools. So if you're already thinking, hey, maybe I want to go to culinary school, you could type that in, art schools. So very comprehensive database of schools that you can add. So I'm going to give you a minute to search a school and then possibly click that heart button to add it to your colleges I'm thinking about. So one question that came up is, what does the little star icon mean that comes up to next to certain colleges? That means that the college has an extended profile, and that's what we're looking at here with UC Santa Barbara. It doesn't mean that that school is specifically recommended for you or that that school is better than other schools. It just means that their Naviance profile has a bit more like these beautiful images, or that maybe they have a live, not a live, but a campus tour linked. Whereas schools without that little star, maybe their profile looks a little bit more basic, a little less information or less photos, but it's still a good set of information. It's just not as fancy. And then if you go to the, if you're not quite sure where to search for colleges, if you go back to the home page, there's a white search bar and you can just type in the school there, or under the colleges tab, there's a search feature there as well. Cool. All right. So I know I'm moving somewhat quickly, but you will have time to go on to Naviance after this webinar. You have access to Naviance anywhere you have internet. This account is yours and you can visit as frequently as you'd like. But today is really about pointing out what you can do on here and ways to get started. So it would be amazing if every ninth grader had at least one college added to their colleges I'm thinking about list. The other good thing about doing that is if that college comes to visit, you'll be notified. And if that visit is happening outside of class time, you're more than welcome to join. Both high schools have a policy that only 11th and 12th graders can miss class time for a college rep visit. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Another way that you can search colleges, a tool that doesn't require a login, is Big Future. And this is a College Board hosted database. But one of the nice things is that you can very quickly filter by location, major, type of school, campus life. Going back, you can also apply filters in Naviance under Advanced College Search. And there you can say, I want to go to a big school, a small school, a medium-sized school, and in these particular states, and I want to study this particular thing. And it's okay if you don't know all of that yet. Again, it's just knowing that this tool is out there. Once you start getting a little bit further along, that's when you might be more clear and really start using those filters for your college search, but just know that they're here. And then if you typed in, let's say you typed in Santa Clara University, then on Big Future, this is what would show up. You'd be able to see at a glance, deadlines, majors and learning environment, campus life, applying and paying. And I like this Big Future because it gives you a quick snapshot. So let's say you're, again, college sports fan, you're watching the NC2A basketball tournament in March, and you hear of a school that you've never heard of before. And you're like, I want to learn more about that school. And you go to Big Future and you just type it in really quickly. You can get a very quick snapshot of what that school is or where it is and how big it is and all that good stuff. The other nice thing about Big Future is on the right-hand side, you see these overlapping colleges that might be of interest. So maybe you know of Santa Clara University, which is 11 miles south of us, but maybe you've never heard of Loyola Marymount University, which is a similar school, but in Los Angeles. So it's saying students that are interested in Santa Clara might also be interested in Loyola Marymount, and that could be kind of a cool tool for you to start exploring. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go to Q&A, and before I really open it up, I'm going to go to this page, which are frequently asked questions that we hear from students. So one is, do I even have a chance? The answer is absolutely. Most colleges in the United States admit most students that apply. There's really only a handful of schools that sometimes we say are highly rejective. So any school that admits less than 10% of their applicants, that type of school is in the vast minority. Most schools are not that highly selective. They admit many more students than they deny. But sometimes it's easy to hyper-focus on those schools that don't admit more than 10% of the students that apply. But yes, you have a chance. And our students from both Mountain View and Los Altos end up going to amazing institutions in the United States and around the world. And it's where we've got you through the process. And this semester is when you really start your academic history. Earlier, a student asked about quarter grades. Quarter grades do not go on your official high school transcript. That is just an update halfway through the semester for you and your family to know how you're doing in a specific class. So if you have an A at the quarter, that's awesome. Colleges aren't going to see it. If you have a D at the quarter, that's a way for you to know, hey, I need to go get some help. I need to go to the tutorial center. I need to talk to my teacher because I have half a semester longer, one more quarter to get to that semester point when colleges will actually see my first semester grade. But if you end up not passing a class with a C or higher, there's also summer school or repeating the class. And that's where you'll work with your school counselor to make sure that you are fulfilling all of the requirements that you need. Okay, so do universities care about grades? Sort of talked about it. And the answer is yes. Colleges and universities want to make sure that the students that they admit are going to be able to be successful on their campus. And so that's where they're looking at your high school record to say, is the student prepared academically to be successful here? They don't want you to show up on their campus and then struggle and then leave. They want you to show up on their campus, be successful, and stay until you finish completing your bachelor's degree, which is that first four-year degree. Okay, so another question that sometimes comes up is, what's the difference between community college versus going direct to four-year colleges? We're very lucky to live in this area and have amazing community colleges in our backyards. And so community college can be a great option for students, especially if high school wasn't, if grades weren't exactly reflective of ability, or if a student isn't quite sure what they want to do, they want to take some time to figure that out before they start at a four-year college. Community colleges also offer different types of degrees. So if you know for a fact that you want to become a dental hygienist, you don't necessarily need to go get a four-year degree. You can go to a community college, you can get a certificate, and then you can start directly into that job. So there's various pathways. And that is, again, why we are here to help talk to you individually to see, what are your options? What are the considerations and factors? And then help you make a plan and then powerfully go forward. Another thing to mention with community college, it is free for graduating seniors to start there and then if they take a full course load, they can go for free. So that is one consideration. Some students also talk about like, well, I'm worried about being able to afford four-year college. Your GPA in high school, if you stay in California, can qualify you for something called the Cal Grant. And so that is roughly like a 3.0. If you can shoot to have a 3.0, then you're opening yourself for Cal Grant money. So just kind of keeping that in mind. Okay, so students sometimes also talk about experiential learning, work experience, and volunteering. We highly encourage every student to take advantage of some type of hands-on experiential learning, not just because it's great for colleges or adding to your resume, but because it really can give you useful information about yourself. What are you interested in? Maybe you think you're interested in something and you give it a shot and you're like, oh, that's not what I thought it would be. And you can figure that out before you graduate from high school. Also, you can better articulate why you're interested in something on things like college essays or in an interview with somebody if you're applying for a job, because you've had a little bit of experience. And volunteering absolutely counts. And it can also give you more self-esteem or self-confidence. When you get out there and you're helping others, or you get out there and you are being successful in the work that you're doing, it can feel really good. And that can snowball into even more opportunities for you. And it's just a really positive thing. So on each of our school websites, we have information on ways that you can get involved. We encourage you to join a school club. You can join the fun school club that's kind of like silly, like the donut club, or you can join the school club that's academic focused or very specifically focused on philanthropy or giving back to certain issues that matter to you. So there's tons of different types of clubs and all are great. And we encourage you to maybe try out 3 or 4, and then you can decide which ones you really like and want to pursue. If you only pick one club and then it's not what you think, then you have no clubs. So maybe trying out a couple and seeing. And then because you're a 9th grader, over the years, you might end up taking on more of a leadership role or more responsibility in the club, which is, again, great experiential learning for you. A question: how do I find a job or career? Well, our college and career centers often will publicize if local employers are hiring, and you might be a bit young for that right now, but over time, those will be available to you. And then for a career, you can use that self-assessment in Naviance as a starting point. We also have other sort of career explorer assessments that we can give you and then talk about your results. But I think a conversation with one of us is a great place to start. And then we might actually recommend doing informational interviews where you connect with somebody in your network, or we can help connect you with somebody who's in that field, and you're asking for 15 minutes and you're asking them specific questions about their career. And it's amazing what information you can get from them. And they might give you recommendations on activities or ways that you can explore that now. And we've seen really cool things come from those informational interviews. And then just remembering that at both of the comprehensive schools, you have your school counselor, you have the College and Career Center staff, and then we also have social emotional therapists on site. So you have many people that are here to support you, and you can go to any one of us and we can kind of cross-refer. So if you go to your school counselor, they might say, oh, you know what, I'm going to walk you over to the College and Career Center because I think they should continue this conversation. Or you might come to us and we might say, oh, you know what, this is great. Also, let's go talk to your school counselor about how you might take that summer course or what your options are for exploring something that maybe we don't have here on campus. So another big takeaway is, please listen to the school announcements. That is how we're trying to communicate important information with you. Also, that parent square or student square, it sounds like some people didn't get the link for this, but there are over 700 of you in the room right now. So many of you did get it. And that's where kind of paying attention to the parent square notifications that are coming out, announcements, email. If it doesn't apply to you, you can go ahead and delete it, but just kind of being aware of the different sources of how we're trying to get information out to you. We encourage you to step outside of your comfort zone. So safely and with intention. If you're a little nervous to go to that school dance, hey, hey, give it a try. Or maybe you go with a couple friends to a sporting event and you support your school in that way. Or maybe you end up trying out for an elective that is something you're really interested in, but it feels a little scary to go for it. We want you to push yourselves and step outside of your comfort zone. And then please document your activities, going back to what I mentioned earlier, which is start that Google Doc or start adding in Naviance. So that way you're not a senior who's like, oh, I now have to spend all this time thinking back to 9th grade and what I've done since then. Just start now and keep it going as you progress, and it will be a nice benefit to you, I promise. Please do your best in class. It's okay if you don't get straight A's, but you don't want to get grades that aren't reflective of your ability because you forgot to write down your homework or because you didn't put in that little extra effort to turn something in. Try to have your grades be reflective of your abilities so that you can look at your transcript and feel really good about it. And then the last one is building relationships with staff. All the studies show that students that have at least one meaningful relationship with an adult on their high school campus tend to have better outcomes. So maybe you already, are thinking like, oh, I really enjoy this particular teacher, or, oh, this coach and I are getting along really well. But look for those people, again, cross over to saying like, hey, good morning, or hey, thanks for that conversation in class. Practice building that muscle of talking to your teachers and connecting with staff. Again, that will benefit you all the way through high school and prepare you for life after high school. So that is the end for my official information. I'm going to progress to this exit ticket slide. So here's the QR code if you have